Hey sixth graders, this is lesson 3, day 3. Yesterday's lesson, lesson 3, day 2, you learned about equivalent ratios and how you can show them in a table. Today you're going to learn about how equivalent ratios can be shown in a table and how you can graph them on a coordinate plane. So what we're going to do in this lesson is you should be on page 20. So if you're not, make sure you pause the video and go get your book. Also, remember how it works with the video. I'm going to give you certain directions. I might tell you to pause the video to do some problems. So make sure you follow those directions because you'll learn the most if you do. Alright, so anyway, on page 20, we're going to go over the model it and graph it. And on page 21, we're going to be working on some problems. So let's get started and let me zoom in on this problem here. So it says, a 4-ounce serving of yogurt has 8 grams of protein. How many grams of protein are in a 10-ounce serving? How many grams of protein are in the whole 16-ounce container? All right, so when I'm looking at this, notice they give me my ratio. A 4-ounce serving of yogurt has 8 grams of protein. So that's a ratio of 4 to 8. 4 ounces of yogurt per 8 grams of protein. Now, when they ask us a question, how many grams of protein are in a 10-ounce serving? And how many grams of protein are in the whole 16-ounce container, we can solve it using a table. So first off, let's take a look at our table. Okay, so there is our original ratio. 4 ounces, 8 grams of protein. And if we go down, let me undo that mark here, notice that to go from 4 to 8, you're doubling 4 to get to 8, or you're multiplying it by 2. So if you realize that rule, that 4 times 2 is 8, you can figure out anything in this table. So 1 times 2 is 2. You can go over here. 14 times 2 is 28. Okay? All right, so now let me erase that. And now we're going to show you how these same equivalent ratios can be graphed in a coordinate plane. So notice up here where it says ounces of yogurt, grams of protein. So in our coordinate plane, we have ounces of yogurt and grams of protein. So this is the y-axis, the grams of protein, and the x-axis, which is labeled there, is the ounces of yogurt. So you remember that original ratio up here, 4 ounces of yogurt, 8 grams of protein. So if I go over to 4 ounces of yogurt and up to 8 grams of protein, notice that ratio is represented right there with a dot. And also notice the rest of the ratios. 1 ounce of yogurt to 2 grams of protein. That dot is right here. 1 ounce, 2 grams. Okay? So all of these ratios, equivalent ratios, are actually coordinate pairs. Okay? Think of this instead of 1 to 2 as 1, 2. And you're just graphing it on a coordinate plane. All right, so now, are you ready to go to the next page? On to page 21. So here is what you are going to be doing. Okay, you are going to be working on the connect-it problems. So what I want you to do in a second is you're going to pause the video and do just 9 through 14. Do not do 15 and 16 yet. Now, remember the rules. 1, if you're not sure, no big deal. Give it your best shot, because you'll figure it out when we go over them. 2, if you get one wrong, so what? Because when we go over it, you just fix your mistake. No big deal. All right, so now, last thing. If it tells you to answer a question or to explain, so for example, in number 12, it says, how are the numbers in each ordered pair related? It's looking for a sentence. In 14, it's telling you to tell how something is similar and how something is different. So that's at least 2 sentences right there that you have to write. So make sure you explain incomplete sentences when you're doing it. All right, so do 12 through 14 now. Pause the video while you're doing it. And as soon as you're done, as soon as you finish the 14, I want you to press play and go over it. Okay, get started now. Go. All right, so you should already have finished 9 through 14 on your own. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over each one. And notice right here I just have the table and graph from the previous page on top of this page so we can see it and answer these questions. So number 9, it says, what is the ratio of ounces of yogurt to grams of protein? Well, we kind of answered that together on the previous page. So remember the ratio was right here. So it says ounces of yogurt to grams of protein. So there are 4 ounces of yogurt to 8 grams of protein. And remember, you could write that any of 3 different ways. I'll write them all 3. You only need one of those ways. All right, so if you got that one wrong, make sure you pause the video and correct it before we go on to number 10. Okay, so now for number 10, it says, look at the table. How many grams of protein are in 1 ounce of yogurt? So let's see how you did on this one. So 1 ounce of yogurt is right here. And it says how many grams of protein? Well, it's right there. So the answer is 2 grams. If you had that one, give yourself a C. If you had it wrong, just mark it wrong and fix it. Okay, now we'll go on to number 11. Okay, in number 11 it says, each point on a graph shows an ordered pair from the table. Fill in the blanks to show these ordered pairs. So notice here they started with 4 to 8, and that was 4 to 8. So now for the rest of them, you can either use the table or you could even use the graph. So I'll use both just to show you. So for the first one, it says 1 comma something. Well, you're just going to use this one, 1 comma 2. Now, if you use, let's we use the ordered pair for the next one. So 10 comma something. So we can go down to the bottom. I'll get the pointer on and go over to the 10 and see what it goes up to. And notice that dot is at 20. So 10 comma 20. Now I think it's easier to use a table, by the way. So 16 comma 32. All right, if you had all that right in number 11, give yourself a C. If you had any wrong, make sure you pause it and correct it. Okay, let's go on to number 12. Okay, number 12 says, how are the numbers in each ordered pair related? Okay, so you may not have the exact answers to me that I have, but here's kind of what I noticed. I noticed that in each ordered pair, the second number is 2 times the first number. Or if you said it the reverse way, the ounces of yogurt is half of the grams of protein. So either one of those is correct. It doesn't matter how you say it. So I'm just going to say, and I also know this is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate, right? So I'm going to say the y coordinate, and I'm going to put in parentheses grams of protein, is double, that means 2 times, the x coordinate. And we know the x coordinate was ounces of yogurt. OZ is the abbreviation of ounces. Okay, you do not need those exact words, but you should be saying something along the lines that the grams of protein or the y coordinate or the second number is twice or double or 2 times the ounces of yogurt. Something along those lines. If you didn't have that one right, you could always pause it and fix it. All right, so now let's go on to number 13. Okay, number 13, it says, the ordered pair 10-20 means 10 ounces of yogurt to blank grams of protein. Okay, so that's 10 ounces of yogurt to 20 grams of protein. The ordered pair 16-32 means 16 ounces of yogurt to 32 grams of protein. And you can see that right here. The 16 is ounces of yogurt. The 32 is grams of protein. All right, let's go on to 14. In 14, it says, the table and the graph show equivalent ratios. How are they similar? how are they different? So I'm going to come up with at least one sentence to explain how they're similar, and at least one sentence to explain how they're different. So this is something where you can have something totally different from me, but as long as you came up with at least a way they are similar and at least a way they're different, you're okay. So when I'm looking at a way they are similar, here's what I notice. Both of them can give me the grams of protein for each gram of yogurt. Because take a look here. 1 ounce of yogurt is 2 grams of protein, right? Now I can figure that out down here. 1 ounce of yogurt is 2 grams of protein. So they both give me that same information. So I'm going to start by writing that sentence to tell how they are similar. So I'm going to say both the table and graph show me, oops, not show me, let me fix that, show me the grams of protein for each ounce of yogurt. Okay, so that tells me how they are similar. So now I need to explain how are they different. So when I look at these, I'm going to say, I mean, they're very similar, but the table shows me using numbers. It actually shows the ratio, where the graph shows me how the ratios line up in a straight line. So the one is kind of numbers, the one is kind of a picture. So let me think how I can word that. Okay, so they are different in that the table shows the actual ratios. That's what I mean by the numbers. But the graph shows the coordinates on a graph. Okay, you might have an answer that's totally better than what I just wrote, and that's totally okay. But as long as you told me how they were alike and how they are different in your own words, I'm going to be okay with that. All right, so now at this point, we're done with up through number 14. So now I'm going to give you some new directions. Okay, we're on to number 15 and 16. So in 15, let's read the directions. It says, use what you learned to solve these problems. Show your work on a separate sheet of paper. Now, you can show your work if you have room in your book. That's fine. So you could even probably fit your work on this line. So in number 15, here's your job. Your job is to try it completely on your own. Now, my only hint to you is that a ratio table might be a good strategy to solve. That's probably what I'm going to use when I go over it. But however you solve, I don't care. Just come up with the answer. So do only 15. Do not do 16 yet. Pause the video while you're doing it, and as soon as you're done with 15, restart the video to see if you were right. Go. Okay, so here's what 15 says. On inline skates, Bradley skates 4 miles in 20 minutes. So that is a ratio. So I'm going to even write that down here. So miles, minutes, and I'm just going to put 4 miles. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 miles is 20 minutes. So that's the ratio that they started with. At this speed, how long would it take him to skate the entire length of a 12-mile bike path? So I could keep going with my table, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't feel like doing that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to figure out the rule when I'm going from miles to minutes. So did you notice to go from 4 to 20, it's just times 5. So each one of these, if I do 1 times 5, I get 5. 2 times 5, I get 10. 3 times 5, I get 15. 5 times 5, I get 25, right? So knowing that rule, it says, how long would it take him to skate the entire length of a 12-mile bike path? So instead of doing 6, 7, 8, I'm just going to add one more section and put 12 for 12 miles. And if I just follow the rule, 12 times 5, and you are allowed to use a calculator, I get 60. So my answer would be 60 minutes. If you had that one right, great. You didn't have to do a ratio table, but they definitely helped me. Now, if you had it wrong, fix it and learn from your mistake. Because now your last job is to do number 16 completely on your own. If you had 15 wrong, I highly suggest doing a ratio table. So pause the video, do 16. As soon as you're done, restart it. Go. All right, so let's see how you did. I already have my ratio table started to draw. So it says the cost of 5 team sweatshirts is $90. So I have sweatshirts. I'm going to put SW for sweatshirt, and I'm going to put a $sign for dollars. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sweatshirts is $90. And it wants to know, at this price, how much would it cost to buy sweatshirts for a whole team of 15 players? So, here's what I know. And you could use a calculator to figure this one out. I want to figure out 5 times what is 90. So think about that multiplication. 5 times what is 90. So the shortcut for that is to use inverse operations on your calculator. If I take 90 and divide it by 5, I get 18. So you know what that means? 5 times 18 is 90. So that's my rule, the times 18. Now, if I know 5 times 18 is 90, I'm not even going to worry about filling out that table there. Because remember, it wants to know how much would it cost to buy sweatshirts for a whole team of 15 players. Well, that would mean, if I add another column, they want 15 sweatshirts, right? And do you remember the rule is times 18? So just type in 15 times 18, and if you do, you get 270. So the answer is, how much would it cost? Your answer is $270. And yes, you should have a label for that. So if you had it right, give yourself a C. If you had it wrong, make sure you make corrections. Don't just change your answer. Go back and draw a ratio table. All right, so you are officially done with today's lesson. Thanks for watching, as always, guys.